Hey, so Shannon and I are here to talk to you guys who have done the portion control containers before and now you're doing 2B mindset. So I know that it's kind of difficult to make that change sometimes on like, okay, we have done this system of nutrition beforehand and now we're switching to something that doesn't even use the containers. And if you're like us, you've been doing containers for years and it worked for you, or you kind of figured it out and now you're doing something that says you don't need containers. So how do you measure out your food? How do you make this all work? I'm going to share what's worked for me, and Shannon's going to share what has worked for her, and you'll see that we have some differences, and that's okay. So that's why we wanted to come to you guys and just share so that it can help you, whether you're coming from portion control container background or something else, to kind of flip that switch. So for me, I came off of 80-day obsession, and a lot of you guys have done 80-day obsession too if you're doing the portion control containers. In that program, it's very, very specific of what containers go when. It's time nutrition. At this hour, you eat this. At this hour, you eat that. And so we all got really, really used to that. So my pre-workout meal, which was, I never done a pre-workout meal before, and I was like, I can't eat before I work out. Guess what? I ate the pre-workout meal and I actually felt better. And my workouts went better. So then I was a believer of this pre-workout meal. And then we go to 2B mindset and they say, you don't need to have a pre-workout meal. You can just have breakfast. But since I knew that it was already helping my workouts to have that extra energy, that extra fuel to get through running or workouts or whatever, I kept it. And the pre-workout meal from 80-day obsession for me and my plan was protein, a carb, a veggie, and like a spoon. So like I used almond butter. So some kind of accessory. So basically you just have to change around in your head how these things are viewed. So I still have my shake with my Shakeology's protein, my veggie I put a spinach in, and my carb is a sweet potato. So it's pretty much the exact same thing I had with 80-day obsession. I added in the almond butter too as my accessory. And the spinach is optional. You don't have to have a veggie with your breakfast with 2B mindset, but I just got used to it, and it really doesn't hurt anything to add some extra spinach in your diet. So I kept it exactly the same. The portions are the same, and what I did was the carb in 80-day obsession or any other portion fix programs is a yellow container, and that's half a cup is the equivalent. So I still measure out my sweet potato as half a cup and put it in my shake. Your veggie is about a cup. And so I just threw that in my shake exactly the same way. So going from portion control to 2B for breakfast was really easy for me. I was still having, this much protein, this much carbs. It was pretty much 50% anyway. So for lunch, just change it up a little bit. You have to have a veggie, you have to have a protein, and you have a fiber-filled carb. So how I use the containers is when I was first getting started, you just dump the containers onto your plate and see what it looks like. And the way that the containers are made out, it's going to be pretty close to begin with. So if you dump out your green container of veggies and your red container of protein and your yellow container of carb and you arrange it on the plate, you may need a little bit more veggies to make it 50% veggies, but just use that plate and see what happens. Because things like say tortilla shells. If I did a taco or whatever, and I used a whole wheat tortilla shell, well, one shell on the portion fix is one serving of carbs. So it's the same thing with 2B. I just use one taco shell. Or if it's like the sweet potatoes again, I would just measure it out in that yellow container, and that's my one portion of carbs. I have my one portion of protein, and dump out your vegetables and see if you need to add a little extra to make that 50%. And then dinner is the same way. I just did, the same amount of protein that I'm used to in that red container, and then I just fill up the rest of the plate with veggies. So it may be 2 containers of veggies, it may be 2.5, it just depends on what you're using. But now you use those containers, you just dump them out on the plate so you can see it visually. And then all of those healthy fats, the blue containers, the orange with your dressings and seeds, there's spoons, healthy, the spoons are like your oils and stuff like that, nut butters. Those things are your accessories now. So it's just a different terminology. you can still use those containers to measure out your accessories. So if you're afraid of going overboard with nuts or with avocado or with cheese, go ahead and use your little blue container if you have it and dump it out, and you'll see that's a good portion of accessories for your meal. So you don't have to be afraid of using accessories. You don't have to be afraid of eating, you know, a half an avocado versus a fourth or whatever. But if you want to use your containers, that will be a good way to portion out and see what that looks like. So that's pretty much what I did. The very last thing to go for me was the carb at dinner. I hung on to that carb at dinner for a good while because I was like, ooh, this makes me feel good and I want to be dinner and done, but I really want that carb my family's eating. And over some days, I took that off, and just to see, I got curious, and I was like, I wonder what will happen to the scale if I actually do what Alana says and take away the carb at dinner. So baby step it with that. So even if that's the last thing to go, like it was for me, it's okay. But that's how you can kind of use the containers. Step them out on your plate, see what you need, where you need to fill in the gaps. Maybe you need a little more protein, a little less carb, but just kind of play around with it and see. So I'm going to let Shannon talk and say what's worked for her.
Like Rachel, I came off the 80-day obsession, and unlike Rachel, I hated the pre-workout meal. I like to do my workouts first thing in the morning, and I cannot eat and then work out. So when I was able to cut that, I was so excited. So I have cut my pre-workout meal. I get up, I drink water, and then I do my workout. If you're not working out, you should still get up and drink water first. But then for my breakfast, to make it protein and carb, I knew I wanted to keep my yogurt and a fruit. Now, I have special digestive issues where I've had colon cancer and I have a kinked colon, so I have to get enough fiber, but not too much fiber, enough water, but not too much water. So I really have to balance everything. So when I looked at the food list from Tubi and compared it with the food list from 80-Day Obsession and 21-Day Fix, some of the things had moved from veggies to carbs. One in particular was butternut squash. Now, on 80-Day Obsession, I had been eating butternut squash as my pre-workout veggie. But in 2B, it's a carb. Well, I tried cutting it, and my system would not let me do that. So I measure out my butternut squash in my green container, and I just count it as a veggie. I do what works for me. Because if I don't do what works for me, I can't do this program. So for my breakfast, I have butternut squash, a pear, and my yogurt. That's my breakfast. I cut my teaspoon out of that. Rachel kept hers in. I cut mine out. I did what works for me. Then, like Rachel, I was hesitant to cut out my carb at dinner because I love carbs at dinner. But I realized on 80-Day Obsession, I was eating 3 servings of sweet potatoes a day. So that was easy to cut out. I just have 1 serving at lunch now. My other carb is a high fiber, no sugar cereal that I have with my shake in the afternoon. So it's not a big deal. I drink my shake in the afternoon, which means as a snack, you're supposed to have twice as many veggies as you do carbs or protein. So like today, I had a handful of spinach and a handful of carrots in my shake. And that was perfect. And then I had my little bowl of cereal. It was perfect. Now, I'll admit I have more fruits than anything because I have veggies most, but then I do have 3 fruits a day. But I spread them out, and I try to get all my carbs and fruits done by 3 o'clock. So done by snack time. The hardest part for me with this was going from 5 meals a day to 3. So I have 4. I have breakfast around 7:30 after my workout. I have lunch around 11 or 11:30. It's summer, so our schedule is changing right now. And then my snack I try to have around 2 or 2:30. And then dinner's at 5:30. We're a very consistent family, so that works for us. On Sundays, dinner has to be a little earlier for church. But I keep that the same. I've kept my chia seeds in my shake to make it thicker. I use that as an accessory. I love avocado at lunch, so I keep that as my accessory there. But what I love about this is if I want cheese with my dinner, like everyone else is having, I can have that, and it's okay. So the key is to make this work for you. Yes, I still use my containers to measure things out. And like Rachel said, it's fine to do that. And it's also easy to track with it. I know this is 1 cup. So on my tracker, I can write 1 cup of carrots I had for lunch. And as we've been telling you throughout any of these programs is that dump it on your plate and see what it looks like. So when you go to a restaurant, you don't have to take your container. Same as with barbecues this weekend and this summer. It's much easier to do it that way. So I needed to make sure I had enough fiber throughout my day and not all at once. And this program has helped me do that. I've also learned that I can substitute things like zoodles for noodles. And I can still eat the same thing that my family is eating. A lot of the recipes that I post, you can, like on Tuesday, we're having stuffed shells. I've already made them. So I'm just going to unstuff my shell and throw my shell away. And I'll still, and have an extra veggie. So I'll still have protein, veggie, and an extra veggie. And cut carb is an easy way to cut it. If you've already have meals planned, that's okay. I track on this sheet, which is what I've been tracking with for 2 years. One thing that helps me with prepping is I have a monthly menu. I know exactly what I'm eating and when I'm eating it, which helps my family know what, they don't have to ask me what's for dinner. I just tell them, look at the menu. So when you go through your recipes, look at things for dinner that you can cut carbs at. We're having hamburgers tomorrow. I'll have mine on a lettuce bun. No big deal. So just keep that in mind. Do what works for you. Don't compare yourself to someone else. Remember, if you remember those 2 bunnies, water first, veggies most, and then just track it. See if it's working. See what the scale says the next day. If it worked, it worked. If it didn't, it didn't. It might take a few days. I was telling Rachel, I can hold up to 5 pounds of poo in my colon at a time. So the scale might lie. You never know. But track what you eat, when you eat it, how much you're eating, and you'll figure it out, just like I'm figuring it out. It's a journey. We're only 3 weeks in. Don't worry about it. You might just be starting, and that's okay too. Do what works for you.
Yeah, I think that's a really big key is that Alana says it takes at least that first month to figure it out. We're not even in this for a month yet. And Shannon and I were just talking, neither one of us has the magic formula for our bodies of what creates a weight loss day versus something else. Plus, you're eating different foods. Hopefully, you're not eating the exact same thing for 30 days. So you're eating different things. You're seeing what may work for you. I told her I've been having a lot more cabbage-type veggies, which may affect my body differently than other veggies I was eating before. So just play around with it. But once you're tracking, that's going to be your guide to show you, okay, because I've gone back like almost every day. Okay, where are my weight loss days? What did I do on those days? Exercise is extra credit. But I will also notice, I thought, okay, well, it's because I ran this much that I lost weight this day. Not necessarily, because I may have done a similar workout and didn't lose. So it's extra credit. It definitely helps you. It doesn't hurt you. But all of these things go into consideration. So make sure you're tracking everything. The tracker book is amazing. The app's going to come out soon. Mm-hmm. Guys, if you've not done portions before, you don't know what these containers are, don't worry about this. But for those of us who have come from Portion Fix system, maybe this will help you in guiding you to how we can make this work with 2B when you're really used to having those containers to fall back on. So the biggest thing is dumping it on your plate so you can visualize it. And that will help you fit it into 2B. All of the other containers are accessories that aren't, veggies, protein and carbs. Everything else is an accessory. So just use it sparingly and track it. So those are some tips that we have for you guys. Be aware it takes a while to get used to what your body's doing, what it works, what doesn't work. So just relax and keep going. Make sure that water is going in. Track the water too. That's why these bottles are so great, because you can do 30 ounces at a time and easily track it. So those are some things that we have for you. Anything else, Shannon?
Just baby step it. Don't try to do this all at once. This is just like starting anything new. You've got to start slowly. If you jump in, you're going to get overwhelmed. You're going to want to quit. That's how I started. And Rachel calmed me down, talked me off the edge, and I just focused on one thing at a time. So maybe for you, you need to focus on water. Maybe you need to focus on cutting your carb at dinner. You don't have to go in order. Do what works for you and for your family. If you want this to be a lifestyle, it has to be maintainable. You have to enjoy doing it. So just take a baby step. Don't compare yourself to others. Don't try to go at breakneck speed. Just do what you can. You've got this. You can do it.
Yeah, exactly. I think everybody is completely nervous when they do something new. Even people who have done programs before, done challenge groups before, we all get nervous when we first start. And we're all like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. Just do a baby step at a time and you'll be fine. You'll find what works for you. We're here for support and help. So just let us know if you need anything at all. We are here for you and the other coaches are here for you. So just reach out to one of us.